Hey, you're about to watch a sick interview coming up with a guest that I've brought on, and I'm just going to kind of let them do their thing. I'm going to let them do their thing. So I hope you can enjoy this. Just grab a notebook. Make sure you grab a notebook and a pen so that you can take notes. I'm not the one sharing stuff here. This is them. So let them do their business with you and coach you into something relating to marketing and teach you something new. You can learn from people from all different industries. So also hit the subscribe button and then hit a bell. The bell should pop up after you hit subscribe. That would just help me bring the subscriber number up. You know, I love that. And then it'll also notify you whenever new videos go live or new interviews like this go live. So make sure you do that. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. We got Chris Meade here. How's it going, Chris?
Good, bro. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Good. Yeah, totally. So can you tell the audience kind of what you do? And yeah, let's start with that. What do you do? Give us it could be long, it could be short, whatever it is.
I sling four-way volleyball nets from my bedroom in Miami. I'm the creator of CROSSNET, the world's first four-way volleyball game, inventing a brand new sport. And yeah, we started back in 2017, me, my brother, and our childhood friend. And it's becoming quickly one of the fastest growing backyard games in sports on the planet.
There you go. So when did you start it? And do you want to go into what brought you to start CROSSNET? Your past experience maybe?
Yeah, as well? we started in 2017, simply had a good idea. And it was an idea that we assumed was already out in the market. And we did some Google searches and we're like, holy shit, how does this not exist? And if we don't do it, somebody's going to do it really soon. And we're going to be like, yo, remember that time on the couch where we really messed up and didn't like go after a good idea? So we didn't let that happen. And so that's why we started it. And yeah, it's been 4 years since we started it. Bootstrapped the whole thing completely, took out all the money in our personal bank accounts and started it with about 15 grand, 20 grand.
There you go.
Fun ride.
Yeah. Wow. And so where are you guys at? What are you setting your vision on right now when it comes to your goals for the company?
So there's financial goals and then there's adaption goals as like a sport. It's been interesting as like a he didn't even calling myself a marketer, right? Like I'm just a business person that's trying to like create an idea going. So there's like sports goals, which is get it into every classroom, get it to be an after-school program, get it to become an Olympic sport. And you don't really make money from that per se. I mean, there's ways to monetize it, but there's much better ways to make money, like selling direct to consumer or in retail. So in regards to sports, my goal is to have everybody know what CrossNet is, look at CrossNet and be like, nah, what the hell is that four-way volleyball game? Like, I want you to know how to play it. Just like when you see a basketball hoop, you're not like to your wife, oh, what is that weird hoop looking thing? Like you just know what it is and nobody like is phased. And then on the retail side, 6 months ago, my goal would have been, let's get CrossNet into every retail store in the world. Now it's like, let's partner with the right retailers to push the product the right way and not oversaturate it. So that's my goal on the retail side. And financially, obviously, I'm 28, right? Make as much money as possible while giving the customers the best experience as possible.
So you said you didn't want to oversaturate it. How does that align with your goal of having everyone know what it is?
Yeah, it's tough to be honest, man. There's just some retailers that aren't the best for you. And I won't name drop any specifically, but sometimes they'll put a CrossNet next to a $2 Frisbee. And that's just not going to really help with drive sales and help spread the sport. And it's just not. We're not a discount product. We're not a cheap product. We're a $150 game and a sport. So sometimes some of the relationships we have at retailers, we found out the hard way that if they're not going to push the sport and believe in the mission, just as even, let's just say 50% of what we care about, like they may not be the best partner for us. And we've discovered that over the last 4 years, not every retailer is going to be the best ones for you. And we want to pick and choose the ones that we love and keep driving those partnerships.
Okay. Sweet. So what's your role? What's your specific role? And what does that look like in a day-to-day manner?
Yeah, I am the CMO, formerly the CRO. So previously I was handling everything sales and marketing. All of that still rolls up to me. But I used to form all the partnerships with like Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods, Shields, all our major retailers. I formed all of those off of honestly LinkedIn, cold outbound on LinkedIn, which was amazing. No agency or no help from anybody else. And now I oversee our entire marketing team and our sports development team, which is about 10 folks or so. So I'm involved with social media, paid, branding, production on the boxes, global expansion. Right now, we're setting up Australia. So we're going to be selling in Australia in about like 2 weeks, give or take. So how do we launch? How do we go to market? It's about to be their summer in a few weeks, a few months. So like my goal as a marketer is let's have 365 days of sunshine as soon as possible. Cut ad spend in America, right? Like, why am I going to advertise to places when it's freezing in October and November and move all that money to Australia? Ideally, that sounds great, right? So, like, how do I get that to actually happen? Is what I'm working on right now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So on a day to day, like what's your average day look like if you were to, because you've been hustling this thing since the get-go
Yeah.
and you've been growing it really fast. So what does it look like now
Yeah. It's
for you?
for me now. When I was hustling, we were working 10, 12, 14 hours a day on it. Our entire company is 24 employees, which is wild to think. So we have a lot of operations, a lot of marketing, a lot less stress. I mean, there's still stress, but a lot less like day-to-day stress where we have the marketing teams run. Day for me, go to the gym every day. That's like my top priority is like gym at 9 or gym at noon, depending on my day. The rollout of the new countries, overseeing just the marketing goals, making sure it's more like vision, like 6 months, 12 months down the line are things that I'm working on while the daily like team members are moving the ship on a daily basis. And like the biggest thing I'm doing is just critiquing and being negative, right? Like what's broken here? What's broken here? How can we fix it? And also, stuff's coming up in a few months. Let's be prepared for it. So those are the things I'm working on. Like right after this call, I got to make sure that our boxes are right for Europe because we're launching in Europe in a few months. So we have to translate it into 4 different countries' languages inside the packaging on the box. And it's like, there's so much tedious shit that goes on that I'm working on that like, you won't see it today, but you'll see it in 4 months. And then I'll already be on a project 4 months down the road.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Wow. And that was my next question. What countries are you in?
Yeah.
And so you're about to be in Australia and then Europe?
Yeah. So we have United States obviously is our flagship country. We have a warehouse in Canada. It's in Kingsville, Ontario. So it's probably like a couple thousand square feet. We're in about 200 or so, maybe 300 retailers up in Canada. So it's a nice like 5-person team up there right now. And then Australia in a few weeks, which will be awesome. No teammates in Australia. And then Europe, so we could ship to all the European countries. But Australia is like our big focus. I'm thinking beautiful sunshine, beautiful beaches. Europe will be interesting. We're dropping CROSSNET for soccer. And I think Europe has a great potential for that.
Yeah, I saw that. That looks really, really good.
Yeah,
So
I have no idea how that's going to perform. I'm just like, I'm very hopeful. I
hey,
think it could be really great. So we'll see.
I mean, CrossNet for volleyball wasn't a thing before you guys do
Right?
it. So
Exactly.
might as well.
Mhm.
How do you see your role transforming over the next few years as this starts to grow? If you
Yeah.
had to think about that.
So I've already been thinking about that. As we have the marketing team, the ops team, the manufacturing, we're definitely going to be creating more unique games and products outside of CrossNet. The good majority of the team for now will be working on CrossNet specifically. And then a few team members will bounce between CrossNet and some other ventures that are not public yet, but will be public soon. But I mean, we have the supply chain, we have the manufacturing, we have everything. Why not become this big sports behemoth and be innovative? So that's what we're working on, is dropping innovative products, innovative like sporting goods ideas that people just may have in their head, maybe playing like in their backyard for fun. And they were like, shit, let's make it a real game and a real product and sell it. And then we have those connections at retail. So that's what we're working on.
And what do you like most about being CMO and your role?
I like the fact that we can invent something in our head, or we have somebody like yourself come to us with a cool idea and we can actually make it happen. A few years ago, it'd be like, all right, how do we do this? How do we do this? And now it's like, all right, we have the buyer for Dick's, we have the manufacturing, we have the warehouse, we have the marketers. Like, nothing seems like we can't actually do it anymore. And that was so like not so long ago, like it all just kind of felt like impossible. And now it doesn't feel like anything's impossible in regards to like production in sports.
That's the joy of marketing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Seeing stuff come to life.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to let you just talk about retail and what you know in that area. If you want to start off, like what retail is to you and how you've brought CrossNet to retail and what your first ideas were in that and how you thought about it. And then what you know has been proven to work for a product like yours. If you want to just talk,
Yeah.
I'm giving you the stage.
An open mic, right? Yeah. So for me, the building the retail connections was definitely one of the hardest and most challenging things for CrossNet. Uh, One, it's hard to get your foot in the door. Two, it's hard to get even a response when you do get your foot in the door to keep the rapport going. But then financing a lot of the inventory. A lot of people don't understand that. It's one thing to like, all right, we got a meeting with Walmart, right, or Target. It's another when they send you a purchase order for thousands or millions of dollars, and you have no idea how you're going to fund the inventory, how you're going to keep your company alive for months on end because you're on 120-day payment terms, which is just so challenging. But biggest thing we found for us is like find a good bank to finance a lot of your inventory. Rapport, like you may feel really nervous at first to email the buyers or set up these meetings, but building the rapport and like the relationships with the buyers are everything. Over communicate, obviously don't annoy them, but like set plans, set roadmaps. And I found out early, like I had no retail experience. So I built the relationships, we're selling through pretty decently. But as soon as I could onboard somebody who had the retail experience, who could build rapport, knew what we were missing, I put them on those accounts. It sucked as like an owner to like have to give away like my babies almost, but he's blossomed those contacts and those relationships into even bigger deals. So what kind of signage can we do? What's our return rate, our defect rate, and those percentages? Like how can we save money there? How can we move payment terms from 60 to 30 days, like to help free up cash flow for our business? Those are all things like you should be trying to work with at retail. And for anybody who's looking to get their first shot in retail, Walmart and Target aren't the best ones to start with. Start with the stores that have 10 locations or 15 or 30 locations. Get your feet wet. Something's going to go wrong and you learn from it. When you learn on the biggest stage of them all, it's not the best place to learn. You should be like very prepared when you get those big beasts.
Starting out small would be trying to think about how to say this. So you don't really have much to propose to Walmart or Target if you're just starting out either, right?
Correct.
So you
Exactly.
got to start small and make a
Exactly.
proposition and then figure out how to get that going
Absolutely.
without any,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, sometimes you get lucky and like, for example, we were in Shields, which was like 30 locations. And at about the same time, the Dick's buyer, don't quote me, but I think there's roughly like 500 or 700 Dick's locations. And they came from 30 to 500. So like it went pretty big. It was a big leap for us. But yeah, look for those smaller stores, build up that case study, and then leverage it. It's almost like press, right? Like you start with the Huffington Post, and then you try to get Forbes because you had Huffington Post. So it's kind of like any other partnership.
How did you just start product development? Did you have the product in development already produced when you went to your first retailers, or did you?
Oh yeah, we were selling direct. Yeah, we were selling direct to consumer for well over a year. So we had the product before we went to retail. Okay. And then of course you take those stats, right? Hey, we're selling X amount of units per month. We project with your store volume traffic, like we could sell 10 units a month, right? Like at that, if we sell 10 units a month times 52, we could expect X amount of gross revenue for your store that we're adding. How does that look compared to your other products?
So who should go into retail? If they're looking to make the same move, D2C, and then go to retail, why should they go to retail or why should they not go to retail?
So I very strongly don't suggest anybody go into retail until their brand has enough equity that people are actually going to the store looking for that product. If you think you're going into retail because it's just going to sell itself, you are so damn wrong. You might have some sexy labeling and it may work for a little bit, but if you don't have that a brand that people are looking for and going down the aisle, it probably is not going to move unless you have some crazy influencer strategy or some Kim Kardashian walking in to promote it, right? Like if you're just a normal brand that somehow got in, you're going to struggle pretty damn fast. And we learned that too. Like our story was we were in Shields. We had 2 locations. It was our first deal ever, 16 units, 8 for each store. They didn't move for months. This was back in 2019. And buyer wouldn't respond back to me. Shit looked awful. And then all of a sudden, like our marketing started picking up. CrossNet became like what it is today. And we sold out overnight. So like until you have that hype, until you have that momentum, don't look at retail as like saving you. It's got to be like a nice compliment, not the end all be all.
Okay. And then how did you decide to make that move though? To say, okay, these people will go hunt for the product.
Yeah.
How'd you decide to make that shift?
Yeah, I think our company is a little different than most of these DTC Twitter companies that are like a drink or food and bev like company, right? Like for us, I think about sports. I think about where do I buy my basketballs? Like I go when I'm in Dick's or when I'm in Walmart shopping. Like it just felt like we had to be in the sports section at the store because that's where all sports are. And it may not be the same for other companies, but for us, our customers were looking for new ideas and new games in the sports category. So why should we not be there? And that was the whole vision for CrossNet, right? It's like make CrossNet available everywhere that it makes sense. That's
okay. So you knew that the product was good, and that's when.
When I knew it was damn good, and I knew it was a fun time. It's just hard to convince somebody to buy a $150 product like off the rip. So that's why you need some exposure beforehand.
Okay. And then I recently saw on your Twitter that Target has proposed a different variation to your product, right?
No, so Target has created a different variation to our product.
Right. So how do you feel about that? And what is that? How are you going to approach marketing with that in mind?
Yeah, so that's been on the market actually for over 6 months now. So I just decided to post about it last night. One, it sucks, but in reality, like brand trumps all. My goal is if somebody gets that ugly thing, I want them to be embarrassed, right? Like it's kind of like everything. There's always different types of there's always going to be knockoffs and there's always going to be a shittier brand, right? Like I'm drinking LaCroix and it's like it's all right, but like I love my ugly, right? Like I love spending fucking $3 on an ugly t-shirts, right? Like I could do Ralph Lauren or could I have a shitty Hanes shirt. Like there's always going to be brand. I want you to get that knockoff and be embarrassed that like somebody gifted you that, or you didn't have the extra $70 to get the real CrossNet, and you're still playing CrossNet. You're still playing my rules. You're still spreading the sport. And like we've seen on the opposite end of the spectrum, when there's knockoffs out there, people are still typing in 4-way volleyball net because they're like, what is that game? 4-way volleyball. CrossNet owns the internet for it. So it's not the worst thing. But it's also led me to think about creating a more affordable option for discount retailers because $150 is a high entry point into our game. So if we did have a more affordable entry point, we could get more players, but it's just a fine line between what retailers carry the affordable one and what ones carry the more premium one.
Yeah. Okay. So next question for you is brand awareness. When it comes to brand awareness at this point, how do you go about thinking about that? I know that's a really generic question, but profitably, how do you leverage brand awareness in order to bring in the sales?
Yeah, it's a tough question. Nobody really has anybody telling you they have a real true answer to branding campaigns is probably lying. This year we use kind of like a slush fund of our marketing dollars to go towards these brand activations. So billboards, radio, podcasts. I think that covers most of them. Those were all kind of, and commercials. Those were kind of all like, we're going to try this. If it works, it works. If not, like, it was kind of like good clout and we used it for social to like promote stuff. So for example, like our billboards, we did like a $60,000 billboard campaign. Really hard to track lift. Saw some decent lift, but was it worth the lift in regards to how much we spent on the billboards? Absolutely not. But as a marketer, you got to test everything. You got to have a decent sized budget to give it a good run. And if you don't test it, then like you're shooting yourself in the foot by at least not trying. So we'll definitely continue to give a percentage of our marketing dollars to these brand activities that make us look big and like help with the press and may lead to good opportunities. But what I'm focused on right now is like really getting back to the paid and like what actually works. Being more, as our brand's gotten bigger, I've gotten away from like, I hate to say like ROI and like MER focused, but like it's been more on these big branding plays where at the end of the day, if the money's not coming from them, they're kind of a cash burn. So getting back more to like what was actually working rather than the branding is what I'm focused on right now.
Okay. And then do you have partnerships with people in particular, like influencers?
Yeah, so we have CrossNet University, CrossNet U. So we have about 150 college athletes on retainer monthly that they're all bringing in monthly deliverables, like 3 to 5 pieces of content every month to our inbox, and then professional players as well. So we have that. And then what I'm working on now for Black Friday is like a YouTube partnership with like a big influencer. We'll give them like, I don't know, let's just say call it 10 grand, right? Or 20 grand. And then we'll give them a percentage of rev share off of that video.
Okay.
So I think that's going to be an interesting way to get traffic because, I mean, people getting traffic is the hardest thing right now with Facebook and iOS.
And then shifting towards that, the Facebook ads are big for you guys, I'm assuming. Do you have, I'm trying to think, do you want to go into how any of your marketing efforts collide with retail in particular? Do you do any sort of cross-platform marketing from Facebook to retail and then get people to retail, or how does that work? How does your marketing mesh to get people to retail?
Yeah, we tried directing them directly to retail. It doesn't really work well. The biggest thing has been brand. CrossNetGame.com is where they go to. If they don't want to make a purchase there, or they just don't want to wait for shipping, they're going to see the Walmart or the Dick's badge, and they know, everyone knows where their local stores are, right? Like you just moved to your new spot. I'm sure you know where the nearest places are to get your stuff. So we tried originally to send them to the .com of the sites, but it's just way more profitable on our direct website. So why would we do that? Let's do brand first. Sometimes like if we get a new retailer, we'll give them a nice spike just to like make them feel good and see some sales directly. So we start off on a good note. But normally now it's all brand focused directly to our website.
Wow. Okay. Is there anything else you want to share in regards to retail and any more insights as to where you're going to take that from here on out and what you're planning on doing in the future? Anything you want to share about that?
I would think the biggest thing is talk to somebody who has been in retail and hopefully in a similar category and figure out what's working, what's not working. I wish I would have networked and built connections, kind of like what you're doing on Twitter now. Because there's so many, like the guys at Truff, the hot sauce company, they were really helpful when we were starting off in retail, just picking their brain, what's working, what's not. I wish I would have took some advice of like not going too fast. We started in so many stores so quickly, and then we kind of stubbed our toe along the way. Yeah, every company has different objectives. Like maybe it's sell tomorrow, or maybe it's sell in 10 years. If yours is sell in 10 years, go slow and then run. Like really try to figure it out instead of adding on a million retailers like we did. So that's some good advice. Like the money will be there. Figure out your shit and the infrastructure beforehand before you get hit with chargebacks and make people really upset by not having product to deliver.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yep. I bet. I'm just imagining here, putting myself in your shoes, going to retail sounds like the biggest thing imaginable. Like that's the biggest decision I could make if I was in your shoes.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that was good. You provided a ton here. So where can people find you? And, any other last advice you want to give?
Chris Meade on LinkedIn or Twitter is probably the best spot. If you want to buy CrossNet, CrossNetGame.com and retail, of course. And if you got a good idea, just go for it, bro. Like you and I are just normal ass kids, right? Like had a good idea. You have a great job at Ridge. Like you never know what is going to happen. Everybody that you'll have on your podcast is just a normal person. with a good idea who just didn't give up. And the most important thing is just not giving up, because CrossNet 4 years ago sucked, but now it's amazing. And like, because we just kept going, right? So
Yeah.
just keep going, just go for it.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Chris. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, bro.
If you liked that video, do one thing for me. Go into the comments on YouTube or go on Twitter and tell me who I should interview next, because I want to, not my wife. This has to do with marketing, TJ. But that might be cool sometime. Unrelated to marketing. Anyways, go do that. Bye.